Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on our video today. We have with us Adam Lawrenson, who is owner, operator, appraiser of Adlaw Appraisals. He's been in this appraisal space now servicing Vancouver, Lower Mainland, as well as the Okanagan for 13 years. Adam, welcome to the video.
Hi, Katie. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. I know we've done a podcast in the past before, but now with the whole new world, we're doing this over Zoom. But wanted to make sure that anyone watching today has a little bit more information about, sort of the appraisal industry as it relates to mortgage financing, sort of some ins and outs, maybe a few of those questions that they were too afraid to ask. And invite them then to reach out to you if they have any questions, or myself, of course. So, let's start with why an appraisal is necessary, what it does, or why you have work today.
Yeah, Katie. So the reason I wanted to talk about this is because recently a lot of homeowners have been asking me when I come to do the appraisal or when our appraisers go out, why am I getting an appraisal? They'll say I just had one done last year, or they'll say the assessment is worth X. Why can't they use that? Or they'll say it's a low loan to value. Why are you inconveniencing me in this way? And the short answer is it's the lender's lending the borrower money, and as a result, they need to have security for that loan, and that is the appraisal. So the appraisal is basically the security for the mortgage. It informs the bank that if they have to take over the property tomorrow, and they can sell it for X amount of dollars and basically make their money back. So it helps with their risk management and securing the loan. The other reason appraisal is necessary is it mitigates fraud. So we come across situations sometimes where you see a property selling much more than the market value. So an example of this is when, say, you have a property that's worth 500,000, you sell it to your brother for $1,000,000, and the brother gets a loan at 80% loan to value for 800,000. So if there was no appraisal done, the bank would be lending money 800,000 on a $500,000 property, and that really puts their risk profile way into the stratosphere. So we want to make sure that we're securing the mortgage, that we're mitigating fraud, and that we're also protecting consumers. One example I have, this was a couple of years ago during the 2016 super hot market. There was a half duplex for sale in Chilliwack. It was listed for $375,000. There was multiple offers, ended up going for $450,000 for this half duplex in Chilliwack. And there was really nothing like it on the market. So the determining the value was difficult, and completing the appraisal was difficult. But after doing all of our research, we came to the conclusion that this property, although listed for $350,000, was worth about $375,000. So they had a purchase contract for $450,000. We appraised at $75,000 below the sale price. So guess who was mad, Katie? The mortgage broker was mad. Killed my deal. The realtor was furious. Killed my deal. The broker's losing money, the realtor's losing money. And you know who else was upset? It was actually the buyer. The buyer really wanted this half duplex, and she was willing to pay, $75,000 over list price. Anyways, the deal fell apart, and about 3 weeks later, and it ended up selling for the list price at $350,000. So basically, the moral of that story is that even clients get emotionally attached to properties and overpay for properties. So an appraisal is a third-party, unbiased opinion that will help protect consumers from overpaying. It also helps protect them from over-leveraging themselves. They might want to buy 10 investment properties, and if they don't get an appraisal done that helps determine the true market value, they may be buying too much too fast, and the 10 years down the road, it might put them in a very precarious situation. So 3 reasons to get an appraisal.
Yeah, we've seen that where the feedback is, well, this is ridiculous. It must be worth the value. My realtor said it was worth this value. This is what we've purchased it at. But as you say, it is in there for checks and balances and to protect ultimately the client at the end of the day, and enable them to get into the right home at the right price. So but we have seen some circumstances where the clients had to put more money in at the end of the day. But I preempt that by letting them know that we lend off of the lesser of that purchase price or appraisal value. So Absolutely fair game. So leading on from there, then the number one question we get once we do receive an appraisal from you is, can I get a copy of it? And so maybe you can speak to who owns that appraisal and,
Sure.
you know, ultimately the legalities around your preparation of that document.
Yeah, great question, Katie. So who is the client of a real estate appraisal? The client is the individual or entity that initiates contact with the appraisal company and orders that appraisal. So in every appraisal report, you have a client and you have an intended user. So typically with as a mortgage broker, you ordering the appraisal, you are the client. So you can actually direct where that appraisal goes, whether it goes to lender A, credit union A, lender B, etc. You have that control of that file. We want to make sure that appraisal is not used for anything that it wasn't intended for. So when we're creating that document, we're creating it for the lender's eyes only. So there's certain jargon, there's certain things that we have in there that are specific to the lender. When that report gets into the hands of a realtor, of the homeowner, of somebody else, issues can arise. So they can get secondary financing without our permission. They can use it for a divorce situation, which again puts us in a really precarious situation. And they can also just pick through it and find details that aren't congruent with their idea of the property. For example, we might say the landscaping is below average. Well, they might say it's average, and then it becomes a bit of a contentious situation. So many of the brokers just prefer to follow the guidelines and have that appraisal sent to the lender and for the lender's eyes only, and that makes everything nice and easy.
Absolutely. And you're the licensed professional. I've heard a lot of people say, oh, well, it's just a bank appraiser, and it's not. You're a third party. You are separate from the lender, and you're a licensed individual with experience preparing a document. So yeah, it's interesting, those comments you can get about, well, we want to see the specific details of how that price or value was determined, which is included on that document. I think on your next slide, you do have then that second point there of how is that value determined on the appraisal.
Yeah, sure thing. So just to correct you there, Katie, we're actually not licensed. We are designated. There's a bit of a difference. Realtors are licensed, appraisers are designated, but same there. Determining value. So how is a value determined? It's a very subjective art form. Real estate valuation. If you ask 10 appraisers the value, you're probably going to get 10 different answers. So there's no one clear-cut answer for the market value. Even if a property sells for $1 million, that may not necessarily be the pure fair market value of that property. It's just what two people agreed on at one point in time. So when we're determining market value, we look at the entire market as a whole. So we look at everything that's going on, the supply dynamics, the demand dynamics, as well as recent and comparable sales in the immediate area. So we can't use assessments. We cannot use BC assessment. We can't use listings of properties. A lot of people might say the property next door is listed at 1.2, so that's my value. Well, it might sell for $950,000 6 months later. So we have to really rely on recent and comparable sales in order to determine our final market value.
So that goes back to our first question there is, who can use this appraisal once it's completed and it has been presented as available and ready? Who can use it?
Yeah, so like I alluded to earlier, every appraisal has a client and a user. So for example, Katie, you ordered an appraisal for one of your borrowers to do a Scotiabank mortgage. You, Katie, are the client. Scotiabank is the end user. Nothing else can happen with that appraisal. So not even a different broker can send that to Scotiabank because the broker's not the client. It's only you that can send that appraisal to that specific lender. If you do change lenders for some reason, you want to change it from Scotiabank to TD Bank, we can do what's called a letter of reliance, and we can get that appraisal sent over to TD Bank. But in order to do that, we need your permission as well as our permission to have that appraisal sent over. So it's really important who the client is and who the intended user is, so it doesn't get into the wrong hands.
Now, with any profession, of course, there's some issues that can come up during our process. So what issues come up for you during an appraisal process? And an obvious one right now is COVID, but let's talk about some of the other ones as well.
Yeah, I guess COVID might tie in with access. But yeah, definitely like any profession, any industry, there's going to be issues. So I like to kind of highlight these so we can prevent them in the appraisal process. So timeline's a big one. Sometimes banks will give you a certain timeline in order to complete a financing deal, whether it's for a purchase or a refinance. So we want to make sure the appraisal is done within that time frame. So if you can give the appraisal company, 2, 3, 4 days to get that appraisal done, sometimes access is an issue, contacting the homeowner or the tenants can be an issue. So the more time we have, the better chance we can in getting that appraisal done within your timeline. Condition of the property can be an issue. So if you're taking a mortgage to an A lender, they require the property to be in decent condition, marketable condition, livable condition. If there's any issues, if there's lots of damage to the flooring, to the walls, if the roof's leaking, cars in the backyard with 3 tires on it, that sort of thing, they will look badly upon that type of condition, and they may actually inhibit the amount they loan or cancel the deal altogether. So condition, the magic word is average or above average. Every appraisal should have average or above average. If it doesn't, you may have issues with that deal. Access is another issue. So typically we're doing a single family residence and there's a basement door that's locked, and that could be for a tenant or storage or whatever. Not having access to that one room may cause a huge delay in that deal. So we want to make sure the entire home is accessible. One caveat today is COVID. Many banks are allowing us to do what's called a full modified appraisal, which allows the homeowner, occupant, or realtor, whoever has access to that home, to send us time and geo-stamped photos so they know the date and the location of when that photo was taken. They can email that to the appraiser. The appraiser does an exterior inspection, corroborates all that information, and we can put forth a good appraisal. I would say 98% accuracy as far as gathering all that information, but that's one issue that we're overcoming during COVID. It's great for the elderly. It's great for people that aren't feeling well, that want to just be as safe as possible. Other issues are lender requirements. So some lenders have maximum 10 acres, some have no outbuildings. So if you have a 20-acre parcel in Langley with 6 outbuildings, the value of those outbuildings and the extra 10 acres will not be included in the appraised value. So sometimes they may buy a beautiful equestrian center, in Campbell Valley for $3 million, and the appraisal only comes in at 2. They're wondering what the heck's going on. So lender requirements are important, as well as a slow market or market with many motivated sellers. A lot of homeowners say, my house is worth $1 million, but my neighbor was desperate to sell. So was the woman up the street, and so was the guy, down the street. Those are actually, even though they're motivated sellers, it does create the market, and it will impact your market value. If they are the exception or the outlier, we can consider that. But if a lot of people are motivated to sell and it's a slow market, then that will negatively impact the value of your home.
Yeah, absolutely. Adam, I'll get you to move to your next slide just so everyone can see those items that were on there. Yeah, absolutely. So we talked about timeline, condition, access, lender requirements, or slow market. I think one that is less common today than before, but is recent sales that are similar to the product that you're purchasing. So 10 years ago or 20 years ago, it was different for someone living on Bowen. That was unusual. Today, it's so common for someone to live on Bowen. Now most of us are working from home as well. So those unique properties are less and less, but we do see that migration out to the valley. So more and more people are living on acreage in, say, Langley, but all of a sudden pops up ALR with multiple properties on the one property or the one land parcel, but we can only use a portion of that. So nice that you talked to that. So one other thing I'll get you to sort of run through, we know this well, but maybe the difference between an appraiser or realtor doing a property valuation versus BC assessment, property assessment. These words we know well, but for clients, they can become quite confusing and they don't understand the difference between one versus another.
Yeah, for sure. So you can get a valuation from an appraiser, from a realtor, and from your property assessment, and they are much different. So I'll go through some of the differences. An appraiser is a designated, unbiased valuation expert. We're the only ones in the industry that have a designation, that have the education and the responsibility to be 100% unbiased towards our clients. A realtor who will provide a CMA analysis, which is certified comparative market analysis. It will be similar to an appraisal, but it'll be a little bit weaker. There won't be as much of an analysis, and it'll get the homeowner, if they're listing a property, for example, in the ballpark as far as value. The one thing a realtor does not have is the unbiased component. So if a realtor is working for a seller, they're biased towards the seller. They're working for the buyer, they're biased towards the buyer, as they should be. They're acting on their behalf, and they should be getting them. If they're buying, they should be getting the best deal. If they're selling, they should be selling for the top dollar, right? So there's always these biases that need to be taken into account. Not to say that realtors are not experts in their field. If you have a realtor that specializes in downtown condos, there's no doubt that realtor can be more knowledgeable than any appraiser. So it's not necessarily about knowledge; it's about the systems in place that are there. An appraiser does have that unbiased component, which is unique. And then the third party that can give you a valuation is the property assessor. And the reason these are not accurate, there's three reasons. I have two on the slide here. One is they're based on July 1st of the previous year. So a lot can happen from July 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2020. 18 months in Vancouver is an eternity. So lots can happen as far as values. So they're outdated. They're based on mass assessment. So they'll take 3 or 4 sales and they'll actually blanket 15,000 properties with those sales. You can only guess how much can go wrong in that situation. Properties are so unique, views, topography, shapes, that sort of thing. Quality of homes. I mean, some homes are built with exceptional quality. Some have very average quality, and BC assessment fails to recognize that sometimes. In addition, there's no interior inspection. So rarely will a property assessor go into someone's home. So they have no idea the quality, if it's laminate counters, granite counters, how the layout is, etc. They're basing it all on plans, and as a result, it can be quite inaccurate.
People love to use those when the values are high, but they don't like to use those when the values are low.
Anything to suit their narrative, absolutely. Yeah. And the last one here, Katie, is a property inspector. So some borrowers, if they're buying a property, they're getting an inspection and an appraisal. That can be kind of confusing. Why do they need to send both parties out? Property inspector doesn't do anything with values. They are just component experts. So they'll make sure the roof, the furnace, the flooring, that there's no moisture, there's no issues with the foundation, all that stuff they are experts in, where appraisers are not. So appraisers kind of rely on the property inspectors to make sure the house is good. We rely on the realtors to make sure the transaction goes well. And we all kind of work together to ensure everyone's happy and making smart, educated decisions.
Mm-hmm. Now, when would a client connect with you directly as an appraiser as opposed to like through us for mortgage financing? Why would they call you for an appraisal?
Yeah, there's many reasons to get a home appraisal. There's insurance. So often if you've done numerous updates to your property, you want to make sure you're properly insured through your insurance company. You can get an insurance appraisal. If you have a rental property, you need to get a tax appraisal. So to ensure that when the property switched from owner occupied to tenanted, that you're getting a valuation as of that date. It's very important. Other reasons, so that's tax, insurance. You have marketing listing appraisals. So if you're thinking about buying or selling and you want to get a third party unbiased opinion of value, you can hire an appraiser just to get that unbiased opinion. And then there's got to be another one.
Spousal
litigation. Spousal/divorce, separation of assets, very common one that we do. And as appraisers, we don't act on behalf of either party. It's on behalf of the court, and it's completely unbiased. So before the one partner would hire an appraiser, the other partner would hire an appraiser, and they'd fight over values. Doesn't happen anymore. Both parties agree on one appraiser, and it's right down the middle. Saves everyone time and money. And the last one is similar to a separation. It's litigation. So right now, I'm actually working on a very exciting litigation file in Shaughnessy, and I can't go into too many details, but it's very scary around Halloween too.
It's probably a fantastic home. There's some beautiful homes up there, but
they are indeed, yeah.
Yeah. Now, why would someone hire you or Adlaw Appraisals over another company if they do need to access you outside of working with their broker? Why Adlaw? Like, I can tell you why Adlaw, but I want to hear from you why Adlaw.
Well, it's alphabetical. We're top of the list.
I
I'm
love
just
it.
kidding. Why hire Adlaw? Because we're very service oriented, and I think anyone can do an appraisal. I think it comes down to service. Answering the phone after hours, getting things done, just going above and beyond for the client to ensure that the homeowner's happy, the broker's happy, whoever's ordering it, if it's a lawyer or a realtor, whoever's ordering the appraisal, that they are getting constant communication. They're under promising, and we are under promising and over delivering. And that when they're done, they want to give us a 5 out of 5 star Google review. That's kind of
Yeah.
that's kind of our goal.
Yeah, I can attest to that.
And tell 10 people about their experience.
You guys are definitely number one in my books in terms of that responsiveness and knowing where the file is at all times so that we don't have to do that follow-up. So for a client direct as well, I can speak to their customer service level at Adlaw 100%. Definitely why I would choose Adlaw first, and I do, and I did this week as well. But so Adam, if there was one specific property that you could appraise, where would it be? What would it be? If this owner is listening and they have the opportunity to hire you, what is your ideal property?
Wow, this is a
Yeah,
you
this is
didn't tell me
good.
about this question, Katie.
I know.
This is off the cuff here.
It's not your
You
ideal
know what?
client, but the ideal property.
I would love to, and I've seen so many amazing properties, upwards of $30 million properties in West Vancouver, and they're all fabulous. I would love to go into the White House and appraise that. I'd love to just walk the halls and see, all the paintings that are up there and where all the magic happens. And of course, I'd like to go in there after, November, once there's a transition of power. But you get that feeling. I'd love to appraise the White House just for many reasons. I just finished reading the Michelle Obama book, and the name of it, what is it called? I forget the name of it, but her autobiography. It's fantastic. And she talks about all the stories and everything that happens within the behind the walls, and I think it'd be cool to go in there. So
yeah.
If anyone knows anyone that works in the White House and they need an appraisal done, let me know.
There you go. Now, Adam, if people want to reach you, aside from ordering an appraisal through me, how do they reach you directly?
Katie, we're all over the place. So info at Adlaw Appraisals, website adlawappraisals.com. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And of course, you can call us at 604-809-8506.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking your time and sharing of your expertise. I know we look forward to doing more work with you in the future, as I have already in my career. So thank you again. For anyone listening, please feel free to reach out to Adlaw. Adam and his team are awesome, as we've mentioned, in their service and communication. So please feel free at any time to reach out. Adam, anything else you want any of our viewers to know before we close off today?
Nothing top of mind. I hope everyone has a great Halloween and stay safe and be well.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
All right. Thanks, Katie.